Sure.
Go ahead.
Let's look to that section 2 that has to do with the dollars. It says you agree to pay $150,000 upon assignment. Then it talks about 60% of rent over and above the amount of income it receives from lease recognition. It's going a little more detail.
Well, that's a big part of the program, to be honest with you. The current industry is expanding with internet, XM radio, GPS, and supposedly in Ohio it started this year. I mean this year, yes, but I haven't seen any wireless television to the smart TVs. Those antennas bring in, the majors bring in anywhere from $1,800 to $2,500 per month per antenna. The minors, like internet and GPS, bring in anywhere from $400 to $900 per month, but you can put multiples of those on because they're very small, thin antennas. So the potential and our investment in this is really with the attitude that we're going to expand it and both are more money.
So you would be going out and soliciting
Absolutely.
additional, and you have a high expectation for that?
Absolutely. The market was questioning it years ago. Okay, it's already here. So I've put antennas in. I live in Mayville, and I put antennas on the Shaker Towers, Hartville, one of the site at Kirtland Hills. Trying to think off the top of my head, Garrettsville. Where else? The small manufacturer doesn't like to be named anymore. Private manufacturer in Willoughby. Those are downtown the IMG building. Lose my mind. Those are $1,800 a month antennas. So we've got 4,700 sites around the country. We're not a small company, and we get a lot of business from this now.
So eventually the feedback monetarily will increase as
It's what our expectation is. We invest in it and then look to make more money on it as we add antennas. And if your lease comes due, it's any more income than the current lease. So if your lease comes due and has to be renewed, we're going to go negotiate it, and any income we get or bonuses we get over and above the existing lease, that also gets split 60-40. So it's any income over your existing lease that we can get from the tower.
Any other questions here?
I'll give anybody else a chance first to have another question.
Go ahead.
Question about, in the terms of the agreement, mentions escalator, 15% 5-year term. Could you explain that, please?
That's in your existing lease already. So our numbers calculate out to be that, your lease runs in this format. So, everybody has a different kind of lease. So that's just to confirm the lease. I have to confirm that. We usually put that on there so that you're confirming to us before you sign, knowing that our dollars adhere to these kinds of things we've been told. Okay, but because you're a public entity, I was able to acquire a copy of the lease and confirm those numbers before I even made the bid.
I'm sorry, I'm asking what is an escalator, 15%?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Every 5 years, the lease rate would go up by 15% under your current lease.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead, John.
Understood.
As far as, I'm assuming any type of maintenance or anything to do with the tower, your company will be doing that. You have a maintenance shop or people here locally that would take care of anything that might come up?
Actually, we don't need to, because your current lease calls for the management company that's running it, and any future lease we would do would say the same thing. In fact, some people require it. They worry about that, so they say, okay, we want every lease you do next to be substantially similar to the one that exists today. Okay? So if you look at your lease, it includes maintenance. We have to get approvals from the city for any zoning restrictions, any electrical, any new stuff that has to go in. We have to comply with everything that your current lease already has in it. So the answer to your question technically is no, I don't have those people, but reality is I don't need those people because your lease as it exists already takes care of that for you and for us.
Quick two other things. Is there a strobe on top of the tower?
Is there one?
Strobe light?
You know, I didn't look at it at night, so I don't know the answer. Any tower over 200 feet is required to have a light because of air traffic control. Anything under 200 feet is not required to have a light.
And this tower is?
I don't remember, very honestly. But that's actually an FCC requirement, so you can't get away with that one. And if the light goes out, they're in trouble. You know, they actually have notification.
190. Probably did that just to be right under that too.
Right. It's what one? Is it 190?
That's what it
They
says.
probably did. You're right.
And what's the specs as far as wind? It holds up to wind up.
Again, that spec was set when the tower was built, and I do have the site plans for that. I believe I got those with the leases from the city. Those specs are set, but I don't know what the specs are, but we need to have those because when we go to get other tenants, we have to comply with the zoning and the building code requirements of that tower, okay? So we can't put wind resistant stuff on it that violates anything. I will tell you that in Katrina, in New Orleans, no towers went down in Katrina. But nobody had signals because the power was out. So that's what led to all towers having backup power on them now for emergency purposes, because what they found in Katrina, if those towers had backup on them, probably wouldn't have as many deaths and as much problem as they had. The towers didn't move.
And the backup power, is that
Anywhere from 4 to 8 hours.
battery or
It
generator?
depends on the location, and I haven't looked at yours, but I've seen a mix. I've seen gas generators, I've seen battery packs. I know the one, in fact, it was at the one when they were building it, one exit down. No, it is Lee Road, now that I think of it, it's the Lee Road exit. There's a fairly new tower on the southeast corner that has all battery packs built into the inside the building. There's all battery packs on one wall. So it depends on the location. But that, again, is all taken care of by the tower company themselves, so we don't have to worry about that.
Well, in the case of a battery pack or generators, I'm assuming, and I want to switch to Chief Vito, would that be something that you would check and make sure?
Oh, absolutely, we make sure everything conformed to it.
Yeah.
For instance, the one we have at Station 1 has a generator, a natural gas powered generator that cycles and tests itself every once in a while for that one.
And the contract says that we have to conform to all rules, zoning, all laws, regulations, etc. So we're good there.
Well, I understand it, but yeah, I could say that, but I would really like to see the specs on the wind and just to see about the battery, or if it is a battery or a generator.
Again, we'll have to get those from the tower company.
Okay.
But I think you have, to be honest with you, I think you do have them in file.
That would be the building department?
Yeah, well, the building department would have had to have them when they went in. You would have to have the inspections when the generators
We might
went
have them in
in.
the bureau office too.
Yeah, they'd have to be here. Yeah.
I could check and
Ask
get
the
back
fire
to you.
chief to check on that, perhaps we can get that information to everybody.
And if we need to get them from the tower company, I can help the legal department get those.
Okay.
Because they'll have them for sure.
Because this is, as I said, is on a first reading tonight, and we can easily pass it once we get all of this information. That would be our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
Madam
Yes.
Chair. On the second page of the agreement, it says, by signing below, you grant Unison an option to purchase your interest in communications facility leases. Could you please explain?
Sure. We state it as an option to purchase because we have to go through the whole process of reviewing the legitimacy of you to sell. We do a title review, we do, the documents review to make sure everything's, real. Believe me, by 8.5 years of doing this, I found a few that weren't. I suspected Maple Heights is okay with that. So we review it as an option because if we find something that basically makes it, a non-investment grade site, then we will turn away from it. Now, in my 8 years, I've only had 2 or 3 of those out of hundreds of deals, so I don't suspect this one is. And I have most of the stuff, the public entity, I have most of the stuff already, so I don't see a problem there. We usually close within about 30 to 60 days of the signing. It usually takes, to get the title reports back, get everything back, do what we need to do for the city, etc. It's about 30 to 60 days.
And weather doesn't impact the...
Our deal, the weather doesn't impact except for me driving here. And I'm only,
No snow.
I should be only 20 minutes away, but it's a little longer at this time of night.
Do we have any comments from the law department? Any other? No? No?
The tower, is existing already. It's not going to impact this agreement at all. It's just purchasing our rights, to charge the people rent. Currently, it's about $12,000–13,000 a year. They're paying us $150,000 up front for the option to add, additional carriers onto the facility, and also going to share. I think you already probably told us sharing some of the revenue down the line. Hopefully, there'll be some revenue down the line. So they're pretty much paying us 10 years rent ahead of time, and going to try to market, to make us more money. So sounds like a good idea.
You give free cell phone service?
Like I said, we don't do the cells. We go from a finance company to a real estate agent. Honestly, that's exactly what we do. No, believe me, I've seen contracts in the old contracts where they gave cell phones. Those companies ended up in a lot of trouble because they started selling their towers off. They couldn't meet the terms of their leases anymore because now a tower company owned a contract that gave free cell phone service. It was interesting.
Do we have any further questions? Yep. Okay, good. Thank you.
Would you like me to stay for the meeting?
Not necessarily, no, because it sounds to me like we've had some question that we'd like to resolve before we pass on it. So
Okay.
this will be a first reading tonight, and then by the next meeting we should be able to pass it forward. And that would absolutely meet the deadline, which is now 11:25, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's good. So we really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, I left a few cards, so anybody can call me. Okay, thanks.
Good.
Thank you.
And moving on to 21485, which would be the ordinance accepting title to 19 vacant parcels. And this was through the Cuyahoga County Land Bank. Was there a date on this, Tony, that we needed to do this? We have actually done this before. It has previously gone through the
Madam Chair, these are homes that were demolished by the Cuyahoga County.
And it's vacant land.
And in turn, as part of the contract, is we accept the lots.
So there is absolutely no deadline at all. We just need to do it soon.
We need 3 readings,
Right. I don't think it needs 3 readings, no. Good.
They've been requesting us for acceptance of the property.
Okay. Is there any reason that we can't accept and do this tonight?
I don't believe it's an emergency, so we'll give it one reading.
Madam President,
For what reason would we want to give it 1 reading? It's vacant
Because it's
land.
not an emergency, then our codified ordinances and our charter state that we should give it 3 readings.
Madam Chairman, it is an emergency. We have to, elect the tax exempt status on these properties, and we're being billed for taxes, and, we have to accept the property as part of our deal with the,
To move it on.
yeah.
Right. No,
So it's an
I understand.
emergency.
Well, unless you want to get billed, we don't have any money, as you know, thanks to,
Madam President.
Yeah, Mayor?
Actually, the sooner we do this and get it done, there's a really, really strong chance that they would tear down some additional houses for us before the $50 million bond money is cut up, because that was kind of what we were angling for. We gave them a list of, I don't know, what about 30 houses that are just, the horrible of the horribles. And the last time we did a deal with them like this, they did tear down 3 houses this past February. So, we're hoping that in some good faith, if we pass this and get it done, get it down to them, they'll expedite some of these houses and get them down for us.
Great. Well, we have the list ready to go, so I see no reason to prolong this, so let's try to suspend the rules and move it along. And expenditures, 2014-99 to 2014-102. Are there any questions on the expenditures? Irene can answer the questions for you. Nope.
That's fine.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
On the last two, 101 and 102, these are for promotions within the fire department. They total almost $6,000. How is this affecting what we've already budgeted?
We have the budgeted numbers, Madam Chair. The budgeted numbers are in the available budget column where we will pay these items.
So we'll subtract the 6,000 from that number, or that already has the 6,000 out of it?
No, the 6,000 is not out of that, it'll come out of it.
Okay.
Once it's been approved, I'm sure that it'll come out. Okay. Are there any other questions or concerns with this? Should be a relatively short meeting this evening. We did want to tell you, though, that Irene is getting the figures ready for our work session, which would be on the 17th of November. And they should be available before then. Do you have a date for us?
14th, I think Kathy said.
So that would be that
She
Friday.
needed them to put in the packet.
That's Friday, okay.
Yeah, there's two ordinances.
Right. So, and hopefully at that work session, you can accomplish going over that. And I also have a gentleman from CEI who has been wanting to come in and address us. So we might want to let that go and just concentrate on the budget, or just wait until the following meeting. I'll just contact him to say he wanted to make a presentation. That would be from CEI. But aside from that, I think we're good to go.
What was that meeting for on the 17th?
Hasn't
The
been
budget.
completed yet, but it's.
For the budget?
It's the final appropriations for the year and the temporary budget
Coming up, right?
coming.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
6:30 would be good. That's our usual work session time, if that's all right with everyone else.
Could we have this committee of the whole meeting so we could take care of the committee items also? We got the committee for the NBIS. And we have also Mr. Safardi as the ordinance in the committee that should.
You have an ordinance that's in committee. Take that out.
Well, at the committee of the whole meeting.
Let's make a decision on that. The senior center? Or go ahead, Chief.
Madam Chair, not to interrupt you, I just have some additional information on the antenna that was inspected by us, and it did meet all our criteria. It does have a diesel generator. We needed an update permit for the diesel containment unit from the state, which they promptly provided us. And we do believe that we have the plans for that on file, so double
So
check.
we have everything. Are you satisfied with that?
As long as you say we got it.
Okay, so there's no reason why we cannot pass this tonight. Moving on. What?
It's up to you guys.
Talk to John?
Well, I mean, we could get it first reading. We're gonna shop, make sure we're getting a good deal, so we're gonna do a little more due diligence.
Okay, all right, yeah.
And also, on the, just speaking about that, we did quite a bit of due diligence on this testing prices. The original prices we got were 16,000 to 20,000, and we managed to get it down to 6,000. We are looking at, everybody thinks we're wasting money, but we're not. We're watching every penny, and the chief did most of the work there, but thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Additional monies for.
Yeah.
I don't have any money.
All right.
I'll just do it.
Let me think on that maybe actually.
You want to wait,
It's just Okay, sorry, question. Yes.
For the law department. John, now that the cameras have been banned, what's the plan now? What's the timeline for what's happening with traffic cameras?
Well, I think, you know, I believe we're going to just, you know, stop it as of the.
I'll cover my report.
Yeah, we're going to terminate it as of last
He's gonna
night.
cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
I don't think there's any legislative action that needs to be taken. We're just gonna terminate it.